Your Excellency, what should a true Catholic do? Remain faithful to the perennial Magisterium and resist modern errors.
The three choices for true Catholics and which Catholic groups to associate with. Choice 1. Accept that the centralized church and true papacy are gone.
This cannot be the answer, because Christ promised that his church would remain visible and endure until the end of time.
Choice 2. Elect a true pope. Outside the Vatican, Conclavism.
This cannot be the solution, because a true pope cannot be created by a private conclave.
Choice 3. The option of resistance and waiting, Sedeprivationism.
The third choice alone remains in full harmony with Catholic dogma. Only the Catholic faith, preserved whole and entire, can guide us safely through this crisis.
When navigating the modern ecclesiastical crisis under the framework of St. Robert Bellarmine's fifth opinion, a profound structural dilemma emerges. If one concludes that a succession of modern claimants to the papacy have publicly defected from the faith, a true Catholic is forced to answer a precise question. How do we maintain the faith while dealing with a hierarchy that appears completely compromised? To resolve this paradox, the decision of what a true Catholic must do cannot be based on personal preference, emotional frustration, or private interpretation. It must be based strictly and exclusively on the infallible magisterium of the Roman Catholic Church. Traditional theologians have outlined three distinct pathways. Below is the direct evaluation of these choices, judged explicitly against the dogmatic decrees of the magisterium. Part 1. The three choices for true Catholics judged by the magisterium. Choice 1. Accept that the centralized church and true papacy are gone. This position, often termed absolute or totalist Sedevacantism, argues that the centralized structure of the Roman Catholic Church is finished, the modern line is entirely severed, and the Church exists only as a fragmented network of independent traditional chapels without a visible legal center. The judgment of the magisterium. This option is explicitly condemned by defined Catholic dogma. The dogmatic constitution Pastor Aeternus of the First Vatican Council, 1870, solemnly teaches that, by divine right, St. Peter must have perpetual successors, perpetuos successores, in his primacy over the universal church. Furthermore, the magisterium dogmatically defines the principles of visibility. The church must always remain a visible, hierarchical institution until the end of time, and indefectibility. Christ promised that the visible church cannot fail, perish, or lose its essential structural nature. To conclude that the centralized visible office of the papacy has permanently died out or been utterly destroyed directly violates these infallible dogmas.
This cannot be the answer, because Christ promised that his church would remain visible and endure until the end of time.
Choice 2. Elect a true pope. Outside the Vatican, Conclavism. This path argues that because the mainstream hierarchy has defected, the right to elect a pope devolves to the remaining faithful clergy. Under this model, traditional bishops must assemble, form an emergency conclave, elect a valid, fully traditional Roman pontiff, and explicitly declare the current occupant of the Vatican an anti-pope. The judgment of the magisterium. This option is likewise rejected by the magisterium. While historical scholastic theologians like St. Robert Bellarmine and Cardinal Cajetan did discuss the theoretical possibility of an imperfect council meeting in a temporary emergency, modern conclavism violates the dogmatic principle of universal acceptance, acceptatio universalis. The magisterium, as explained by dogmatic theologians like Cardinal Louis Billot, teaches that the universal adherence of the church body is the infallible sign of a pope's legitimacy. Emergency elections by an isolated handful of underground traditionalist bishops lack this universal character. According to the laws of the Church, such actions succeed only in creating highly localized competitive sects, which directly violates the dogmatic mark of unity, unam, defined in the Nicene Creed.
This cannot be the solution, because a true pope cannot be created by a private conclave.
Choice 3. The option of resistance and waiting, Sedeprivationism. This path argues that a true Catholic must maintain a stance of steadfast waiting and total resistance to modern errors, while acknowledging that the Vatican is temporarily occupied by material claimants who possess absolutely no spiritual or formal authority. The judgment of the Magisterium. This is the only position that successfully preserves Catholic dogma without violating the definitions of Vatican I or the laws of indefectibility. To resolve the paradox of how a succession of heretics can occupy the Vatican without breaking the line of Peter, the eminent traditional theologian Bishop Guérard de Lauriers, a former professor at the Pontifical Lateran University, formulated the Cassiciacum Thesis, widely known as Sedeprivationism. Sedeprivationism perfectly aligns with the Magisterium by operating on a crucial scholastic distinction, separating the modern claimants into two realities: materially, materialiter. The modern claimants possess a valid legal election to the physical sees and the structures of the Vatican. Because they legally hold the physical chairs, the legal line of succession remains unbroken. This completely fulfills the Magisterium's dogmatic requirement for perpetual, visible offices and safeguards the Church from structurally failing. Formally, formaliter. Because these claimants publicly profess heterodoxy and error, they lack the objective intention to promote the good of the Church. Therefore, Christ does not grant them any formal authority, papal jurisdiction, or the charism of infallibility. Spiritually and formally, the See of Peter remains completely vacant, Sedevacantism. They occupy the legal office as an impostor line, completely deprived of the papacy itself until they abjure their errors.
The third choice alone remains in full harmony with Catholic dogma.
Your Excellency, what should a true Catholic do? Remain faithful to the perennial magisterium and resist modern errors.
Part 2. Which Catholic groups to associate with? If you base your decision on the Magisterium via the framework of Sedeprivationism, you cannot associate with mainstream diocesan parishes, nor can you align with groups like the Society of St. Pius X, SSPX, who reject Sedevacantism entirely and claim the modern popes have true spiritual authority, which forces them to habitually disobey a man they claim has the authority of Christ. You also cannot align with totalist Sedevacantists, who reject the material legality of the modern Vatican elections altogether and violate the dogma of visibility. To follow this specific thesis, a true Catholic must associate with Sedeprivationist apostolates whose priests are ordained in the lineage of Bishop Guérard de Lauriers. The two primary international communities adhering strictly to Sedeprivationism are 1. Instituto Mater Boni Concilii IMBC, Institute of the Mother of Good Counsel. 2. The Roman Catholic Institute, RCI, Most Holy Trinity Seminary.
The path ahead is uncertain, but we must have faith. Come, let us pray. Lead on.
1. Instituto Mater Boni Concilii IMBC, Institute of the Mother of Good Counsel. Based primarily in Europe, with its headquarters in Italy and established chapels across France, Belgium, and neighboring countries, this congregation was founded in 1985 by priests who left the SSPX specifically to adopt the Cassiciacum Thesis. They operate traditional chapels and seminaries, providing the sacraments entirely uncompromised by modernist novelties. Their clergy offer the traditional Latin Mass while explicitly maintaining the Sedeprivationist position, praying for the conversion of the Roman hierarchy so that the material claimants may eventually return to the Catholic faith and achieve formal validity. 2. The Roman Catholic Institute, RCI, Most Holy Trinity Seminary, based primarily in North America under the leadership of Bishop Donald Sanborn. This institute represents the most visible proponent of Sedeprivationism in the United States. Operating out of Most Holy Trinity Seminary, the RCI explicitly rejects the Vatican II reforms as a substantial alteration of the Catholic faith, providing traditional missions and schools for the faithful. Their seminary training and doctrinal directories explicitly teach Sedeprivationism, affirming that while the modern occupants are formal heretics with zero spiritual authority, they retain a material, legal claim to the physical sees, deliberately keeping their apostolate separate from totalist Sedevacantism. By associating exclusively with Sedeprivationist chapels and missions tied to the IMBC or the RCI, a Catholic maintains a rigorous, logical position based entirely on the Magisterium. It allows the believer to utterly refuse to cooperate with modern errors or liturgical subversions, while firmly holding on to the scholastic framework that safeguards the visible legal perpetuity of the Roman Catholic Church.
Your Excellency, what should a true Catholic do? Remain faithful to the perennial magisterium and resist modern errors.